Sanitation from point of injury all the way through the different types of transport, the different levels of treatment until they finally come back home to the United States. And the way that's broken down is echelon 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 is back home. So currently, anything below roll 3, there's no real data being captured about the patient or their injuries. There's very little real-time, well, there's little data captured at all. Even after roll 3, what they capture currently is paper audio. Okay? So there's nothing real-time happening across the battle space. So what we're building is a system to actually employ telemedicine to be able to capture and communicate information about the patient from starting at point of injury and then creating a continuum of data information all the way through that transport process. So how we do it, there's lots of details on how we do it. But as far as to answer your question, right now those medics are all typically trained to be what we call lone wolf. They're alone, they need to manage their patient by themselves, or with this system, they will be able to reach back and give guidance and ask questions of people on how to, when they reach the end of their protocols, what should they do then? So what we're working to do is actually would be, when it's fully employed, would be one of the biggest steps in how to evolve patient management. Now, stepping back a little bit, if you look at the actual protocols, the actual medical techniques and surgical techniques that they use to save soldiers' lives right now have advanced more on the side benefits of the unfortunate aspect of war. Is we've in a pre-hospital fashion being able to help them survive. So classic example is tourniquets. So when before Iraq and Afghanistan, because if you think about it, you put on a tourniquet, what's that do? It stops all the blood flow to the extremities. So the assumption was, well, you're committing death when you put on a tourniquet. So that's a little example of how the understanding of how to manage a patient is completely flipped upside down during the last 10 years of conflict. So in the use of tourniquets has saved more lives than probably anything else. So every soldier now carries at least one, usually a couple of tourniquets with them, so they can put them on themselves or their buddy can put it on them as they need to. Looking at the types of injuries coming out of theater, looking at the numbers. Now what's interesting, once you start talking about research, very little. So the researchers right now are struggling with not having enough data in our system, is to give those researchers how they can improve things. So like one simple, they did a 70 TC3 card is, it's a tactical combat casualty care card. It's a little piece of basic information, very basic information. Well, the 75th Rangers put together a system to collect that data. Typically those cards would hit like roll 3 and get thrown on the floor and then get thrown away. Well, they decided to start to try to capture that data, and what they learned was
I was going to ask you, when you talk about capturing data from port of injury to final destination, how long can the data be stored in your system?
So our system is designed to move data where it needs to go. So where you can view us essentially as the moving company to move the data to make it consumable in real time by the receiving medical facilities or command and control. But as soon as the data is moved into the big DoD databases like Alta or JTTR, some of those databases, the data will expire out of our system because it just doesn't need to be there anymore. So we focus on moving the data, not holding on to the data.
There are many people who believe that lots of regulatory issues and statutory issues need to be resolved for telemedicine to have its full extent of usefulness.
So in the military, it's interesting. We were just talking earlier today about the HIPAA compliance. So HIPAA is obviously the big standard for protecting personal information here in the United States. So that does need to happen in the battle space. Their information still needs to be protected. Um, but I have to say, on the military side of things, the regulatory pressure is much less than on the commercial side. So one of the issues that we look at is our access point. If you think about it, its purpose is to move medical information, patient information. So the FDA currently views that as what they call a medical data distribution system, an MDDS. So that currently is not, the FDA does not see that as what they call a type 2 regulatory device. Okay, but we expect that in the near future they will, because this data is intended to do real-time diagnostics by a remote physician, that there will likely be the need for that, our access point, to be a type 2 device. So what we've done for us in SNC is we've implemented all of the processes and the regulatory controls inside SNC to ensure that when we do need to be FDA compliant or a type 2 regulated device, that we'll be ready for that. But I agree, even in the military side, the regulatory issues are important. On the commercial side, it's a whole broader question. But
Do you think you're making a lot of contribution into what they call military medicine? Because there's a whole core of that called the military command, and there's a medical command headquarters. So what do you think is their contribution of what you're doing to?
so we're from a selfish perspective, we believe we're making a dramatically significant change, but I think the truth is we really are. In that, if you look at the battle space right now, the amount of data real time about a patient is almost completely